Good morning. Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Sunday, June 29th, 2025. And, it's sort of fight day, isn't it? Jake Paul, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. I suppose I better touch on it a little bit in a sec, but geez, I don't really want to. But anyway, a couple other fights overnight as well. But firstly, on this day, back in 2019, Jamal Charlo defended the WBC middleweight title with a 12-round decision over Brandon Adams. In 2002, Vladimir Klitschko stopped Ray Mercer in 6 rounds for the WBO heavyweight title. And just last year, Jesse Bam Rodriguez stopped Juan Francisco Estrada to defend or did he win the light flyweight title? So not a lot. I couldn't really find a lot actually on this day back in the day. Back in the day. Normally, every day something pops up, but I had to actually go searching for it this morning. But you have those days. I'm sure there's plenty that has happened on this day, but I couldn't really find a lot of those really historical ones for today. But anyway, I'm sure something will pop up for tomorrow. Now, before we get into the fights in the last couple of days, and just we'll quickly brush on today's fights. Congratulations to Nikita Tszyu. I didn't know this. I was looking at the social media yesterday, and congratulations for having a little baby girl. Now, the name was sort of a little out there. They named, I can't remember his partner's name, I'm sorry, but they named the baby Curiosity. Now, if you know Nikita Tszyu, it probably is nothing out of the ordinary for him because he always does things a little bit left of center. But Curiosity Tszyu, welcome to the world, and I'm sure you'll have a great life with being part of that family. It won't be, it'll always be eventful. It won't ever not be eventful, I suppose. So, again, congratulations to Nikita and his partner. He actually got married, was it last year, and he's been off social media for a while now. This is probably the first thing he's put up for quite some time, I think. I might be wrong, but he did get married and no one knew about it. He's just a very, very private person and a little bit, very, very out there is Nikita Tszyu. He does things very differently to others, but especially in the lead up to his fights with his training methods and eating habits and all that sort of stuff. But I really, what you see is what you get with Nikita Tszyu. And as I said, he did get married, and there was no fanfare about it, no announcements, no nothing. Just all of a sudden he was married. And same as yesterday, the post came up on his Instagram, I think it was, and he has a new baby girl, Curiosity Tszyu. So again, congratulations to the whole family, and best wishes to everyone. All right, just over in the last since yesterday, 2 fights, I suppose. Are they of note? Deontay Wilder with, was it a 7th round stoppage of Terrell Herndon? Now, I didn't really know much about Terrell Herndon. I did a little bit of research. He'd been stopped, I think, 4 times, disqualified once leading into the fight. I think he'd been knocked out in 2 rounds by Richard Torres, 1 round by Efe Ajagba. I can't remember who the other one was, but he's been knocked out a few times. But not that that's such a big thing. Deontay Wilder coming back from a couple of defeats, just a tune-up fight for him, or a comeback fight, whatever you might want to call it. But geez, it was an horrific fight. It really was. You had Deontay Wilder, who looks like he's really battling at this stage of his career with just putting something together. You could see, in the first round, by the way, should have been deducted a point just for what he had underneath the trunks. Did you see he had the leggings on? I've never seen that. But anyway, the referee should have, as soon as the bell rang, the referee should have said, stop. That's a 1-point deduction for your dress sense. But look, you had a fighter who, look, I hate to say it, but a fighter that just looked washed. He really did. Deontay Wilder, he came out. You could see he was looking to jab. You could see he was looking to cut off the ring. You could see he was looking to sort of land that right hand, but the right hand was pulling up short. It was missing. The jab was okay, I suppose. I sort of found this mark a little bit. He was really struggling to pull the trigger at certain times. Look, it was made a little harder, by the fact that Herndon just did not want to fight at all. He backed up the entire fight. Very, very reactive, did not want to engage. And it was a pitiful performance from Herndon. I understand he's the opponent. I understand he's just there for the payday. He's the comeback guy. I get that. But he did not even try, and I won't say not even try and win. He didn't even really try to fight. He just backed up the whole fight, had the hands up. I was almost, what it reminded me of a little bit. It reminded me of sometimes when you're in training camp and you might have a fighter that working on a few things and the opponent is instructed just to go through the motions, give your opponent range and give him a bit of movement and just let him practice a few different punches. It was almost like a training round. Well, that's what they do in sparring. That's what it reminded me of, where Herndon had almost been instructed just to, I'm not saying he'd been told to lose or lay down or not that. I'm just saying, look, it just reminded me of someone that had just been told, just give your opponent a bit of movement and a bit of, just to, make him work a little bit and let him practice his body punches. And that's what it looked like. It didn't look like he was trying to set anything up. But now, I'm not saying he did this on purpose, because I think he's a very, very limited fighter who just didn't know any better and was probably very, very hesitant about getting knocked out by Deontay Wilder. I get that, but he just refused to fight. He was probably only throwing 10 or 12 punches around, if that. He was just backing up. Deontay Wilder again. And look, that was probably the saddest thing about the whole fight, is that even with Herndon, with an opponent who just did not want to fight and knew exactly what he was there to do, Wilder still struggled to lay hands on him. It was, as I said before, the jab was okay, but he has no defense. He doesn't really know how to set up punches. Come here, man. He doesn't really know how to set up his punches. He's trying, I get that. I didn't see who the new trainer was, actually. He's not with Malik Scott anymore, but I didn't see who that was. But you could see they'd worked on a few things. They were concentrating on maybe a jab to the body, a head jab to the body, coming over the top of the right hand, maybe looking to go to the body a little bit. But unfortunately, the problem is that when you've got such a limited fighter in Wilder, it's great to have all the best intentions, and all the plans and practice everything. But when you get a limited fighter in the ring in a real live situation, it's very hard for them to put it into practice. Even with an opponent like Herndon, who was, in my view, almost literally just a punching bag on legs. I wouldn't go near that fence if I was you, Neil, because there's a big sign on it that says electric fence. He's just over there sniffing the fence. We might just get away from that. I think it must be for kangaroos, I would think. But yeah, look, just Herndon was Herndon, and I did see a couple of his highlights on YouTube, and he probably fought even more cautiously than I'd seen on there. But it was a perfect opponent for Deontay Wilder to really make a statement and look good, and unfortunately he just couldn't get it done. And I know he's been out for a while, but elite fighters, even if they've been out for a while, still show something when they come back. And it was almost a little sad to see a guy who was so fearsome and that had 10 title defenses and had those wars with Tyson Fury. It was sad enough seeing him he got ripped apart by Joseph Parker. And I think if he hadn't put the pressure on, probably could have stopped Wilder. I think he was probably a little bit cautious about what Wilder might have still had. Whereas Azile Zhang had no such problems as going after Wilder, and he got him out of there in devastating fashion. And it's just sad to see after those fights that he came in against an opponent who was literally there just for him to beat up on, and he couldn't even do that properly. And look, just watching him fight as well, it's just so blatantly obvious that all you have to do with him to totally negate anything that he's got is simply back him up. And the couple of times that Herndon did actually take a few steps forward, Wilder was at sea. He can only fight coming forward. As soon as he goes back a couple of steps, he doesn't know how to defend. He doesn't know how to move his head. He doesn't know how to step off. He doesn't really know anything. And that's why I really fear that if he does get another big fight, and apparently afterwards they've got all these plans in place and all these offers and all this sort of stuff. Well, of course he's going to get offers. He's a big name, but has just lost any well, what would you call it? Anything that he did have previously as far as skills and all that sort of stuff. I know he's still got his power, but no wonder the phone's going to be ringing off the hook, because there's going to be a lot of young up-and-comers that are going to want a piece of Deontay Wilder. I don't want to see him, even though I've never been a fan of Deontay Wilder. I've never really rated him, but you know, he has been very, very beneficial to the sport. He was a formidable figure. He had personality. He brought people to the box office and to the TV, and that's great. And I don't like to see fighters like that who just get sort of used up and, you know, or chewed up and spat out at this stage of their career. And unfortunately, that's what I can see from Deontay Wilder. I see them putting him in there with a young up and comer, and him just getting used as cannon fodder. So anyway, but yeah, I had to sit through the 7 rounds. Not as I said, the greatest of fights, but there wasn't much else to watch on TV, so I watched it anyway. But anyway, we'll see. Look, the main thing is, look, if he's come back just for some paydays, I'm sure he'll get that. But as far as him being any meaningful fights, I should say, I doubt that's going to come out or finish up well for him in the end anyway. But another fight on the weekend, or yesterday, whatever it was, Christian Mbili with the first round knockout of, was it Solaki? That was his name. Well, very, very predictable. Solaki was a very, very average fighter. I shouldn't say that, actually. I won't say he's an average fighter. He's fighting for an interim world title, but you could see straight away there was levels above these guys. And I'm not saying Mbili is anything special. I know everyone's getting excited about it, especially after that. He hit him with it was a good right uppercut. It was set up. He was sort of went to the head, the body, and then come up with that right uppercut, which was a really, really good shot. A 9-out Solaki. I think they might have stopped it a bit early, did they? Did he actually beat the count? I thought he did, but anyway, doesn't really matter. It was all over. Good win. Look, it was a statement win from Mbili, and that's all he's got to do. A statement win. Just keep winning, have these highlight reel knockouts, and eventually he'll get his shot. I don't think it'll be against Canelo, because he's got a bit of a list at the moment. He's got to get through. He'll fight. So he's obviously got Crawford in September. Then he'll have Eubank early in 2026, and then no, we'll see whether it's the winner of, if Shiraz gets past Bolunga, it could be him. There's a couple out there. Maybe it's the winner. Well, I don't think he'd fight Better Beef if he beats Bivol, but I think if Bivol wins, we could see a rematch. I don't know. But even if Mbili's in line to fight Canelo, it could be the end of next year at the earliest. So I think the best possible hope that he's got is that at some stage, one of the sanctioning bodies, preferably the WBC, get a little bit tired of Canelo's antics and who he's picking to fight, and strip him when he gets a shot. Now, the WBC, of course, of all belts, is the one that's never going to strip Canelo. It's a Mexican organisation. Canelo is arguably the greatest Mexican fighter of all time. That's not going to happen. But anyway, that's his best hope. And it must be frustrating when you've got the interim title and you're winning, and you're made to wait in line for what could be 18 months. It's a long time. So you never know. He might, there might be another belt come up, but I'm not sure. Can he actually fight for, let's say, the WBA belt if that comes up, if he's a WBC interim champion? I'm not sure how all that works. But anyway, good win for him. Look, I think if they did win, as I said, I know there's a lot of noise about Mbili, just even in the first round that I saw and the couple of previous fights I've seen of him. Look, he'll be tough, he'll be hard, but I'll be honest, I don't see him posing any challenge to Canelo at all. I just think he's too raw, too basic. He's doesn't really do anything extremely well. He can punch, obviously, but Canelo's so hard to punch or so hard to hit. He's got a chin on him, that's for sure, but he's also got very good evasive movement, although has that faded a little bit in his last few fights. I'm not sure, but I'm not sure at this stage of his career that Canelo is probably going to want someone like an Mbili. It was one thing fighting a William School, who posed no threat to him. Mbili's probably a little bit different, where he does pose a threat just by that power. But as I said, I think if they did fight, I think it'd be a pretty easy win for Canelo. It'd be probably on points. I just think Billy, yeah, as I said, straight up and down. I just think Canelo's counter punching and overall ring IQ would be far too much for him. But hey, we want to see him in with good fights, or with good fighters in good fights, Canelo. So it would make sense to pair the two together. But I'm not sure it'll happen, at least, you know, maybe until maybe 2027. And is Canelo even still going to be around till then? Who knows? But as I said, all you can do from Billy's part or his angle is to keep winning, and that's what he's doing. So, yeah, check that out as well. It was impressive, but I don't think it sort of said a lot about Christian Billy's credentials anyway. All right, on to today's fight. I won't go into it too long. I'm not buying the fight. I've decided I'm not paying money to fund Jake Paul's retirement fund. I'm just not going to do it. And the whole circus. But the only reason I'm mentioning it is, of course, we've got the undercard with Farmer and Schofield and Ramirez and Dorticos. I mean, they'll be entertaining fights. Still not enough for me to spend the $50 though. But the reason I mentioned the fight is because I can't believe, checking all the boxing sites over the last few days, it has been absolutely dominated by Jake Paul. Every single site you go to, it's got Jake Paul and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. on all the sites as the main stories. Now, you'd think this is Hagler Hearns, fair dinkum. It's just, there's headlines, there's what ifs, there's fight previews, there's all this sort of stuff. I'm staggered that the true boxing media out there are giving this fight so much attention. I think it's blatantly obvious that, well, we all know what Jake Paul is, but we all know what Julio Cesar Chavez is as well, Junior I'm talking about. He's been such a letdown in all the big fights that he's had over the journey. And what makes people think it's going to be any different today? I mean, he had his last probably meaningful win 10 years ago, probably longer. So, and in that time, he's had some horrific performances. He's lost fights. He's had alcohol and drug problems and weight issues, and all that, you name it, he's had it. And he's coming against the biggest clowns that ever enter the sport, and all of a sudden it is just headline news all over the boxing sites. Previews on YouTube and all this sort of stuff. I know I'm talking about it now, but I'm talking about why people probably shouldn't be talking about it, if that makes sense. But I understand it's a fight. It's Jake Paul. He does get eyeballs on the sport, but I just cannot believe that the attention it's been giving legitimately, not by people sort of running the fight down or ridiculing it, whatever. They're actually covering it like they would a normal big fight, which it just staggers me. Jake Paul, Julio Cesar Chavez, just the names on the poster, looking at the poster just makes me laugh. And here we are, giving it sort of mainstream attention. So I'm just bewildered. But as for the fight itself, I don't know what's going to happen. Well, actually, I do know what's going to happen. Jake Paul's going to win the fight. There'll be some sort of controversy. Something will happen. Julio Cesar Chavez, he'll get paid and wander off into obscurity. And we'll continue to talk about what might have been with him. And Jake Paul will just roll on to the next circus. You can see that's what's going to happen. But I'll tell you what, he'll be laughing all the way to the bank. Another massive payday. I'm not quite sure what they're actually getting for the fight, but it'd be significant, I would think, if you're Jake Paul. You'd think Julio Cesar Chavez will probably be making a few million out of it as well, and it's just strictly just a money fight for him. He knows what he's there for. He's not there to win. I will say, though, look, if he could turn back the clock just a little bit and recoup some of those skills that he had back in the 2012, 13, whatever it was, when he actually looked good and gave Sergio Martinez a good fight and had him almost gone in the 12th round, that version of Julio Cesar Chavez probably would beat Jake Paul. I think I'll be positive that version of him would, but obviously that's 12 or 13 years ago, so it's not going to happen. But just any semblance of what Julio Cesar Chavez showed in his early years would be enough to get over Jake Paul. But unfortunately, we're looking at the cruiserweight version, the wash version, the version of him, just the Timu version of what used to be Julio Cesar Chavez, and that wasn't much either, I can tell you. But look, I think I would like to see him actually win. Again, I'm not a big fan of his, but I would like to see him win just to shut Jake Paul up. But I think you and I know that it's not going to happen. Jake Paul will get the win. So I'll keep a lookout for it on YouTube today. I'm probably looking more for the undercard fights. I think Schofield and Farmer should be a good fight. And I think Ramirez should get the job done over Dorticos pretty easily. He's a tough Cuban, he's Dorticos, but you'd think that Ramirez will win that one. But the scary thing is Ramirez said that if he does win this fight, he's been told that Jake Paul will be next for Ramirez. And as I said in yesterday's episode, if he does fight Ramirez, I'll take my hat off to him. I'll give him his flowers, as they say. But I think we've got a long way to go yet to get there. Anyway, we'll see. I know Ramirez will take it because there's a lot of money involved. But does he really want to be part of that Jake Paul circus? I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, guys, if you are watching, enjoy the fights. I'll be looking at the results a little bit later on YouTube so I can review it tomorrow. Maybe I won't. Hopefully something else comes up that I can talk about in the meantime and not have to talk about Paul and Chavez, but we will see. All right, guys, have a great day and we'll catch you tomorrow.